With just a couple of weeks left before the 2021 NBA draft, we're still hearing about mostly the same 5 or 6 names on top of most mock drafts and big boards. And this leaves the rest of the remaining lottery teams and other teams selecting in the first round on a mission to find players who are most likely going to be the steals of this draft class. And while this year's pool of college prospects definitely consists of high-level players with super high NBA level potential, I think there could be one guy who just might be as talented or just as intriguing as any other prospect from the 2021 NBA draft who has been playing overseas instead. Standing at already 6'10" with a 7-foot wingspan, 18-year-old Alperen Sengun is a big-bodied center from Turkey who just looks like the perfect rim-running big man who would fit today's modern NBA. He's got a polished scoring arsenal for his age, an advanced feel for the game for a big man, while also having great mobility and mature basketball instincts, which skills look like they would translate at the next level pretty well. And as a teenager, Sengun has already played bully ball against grown men, including some ex-NBA players in the Turkish BSL, which is considered to be the second best domestic league in Europe after the Spanish league. And the thing is, Sengun didn't just thrive against his competition, he also dominated them. At 18 years old, he was already able to win league MVP playing for his team Besiktas as he averaged 18.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, and 1.5 steals, all while shooting at a highly efficient 62.6% from the field. So what's good guys, it's Rero Balls here, and in today's video, we'll look into what's really so special about Sengun's skill set, how he could fit in today's NBA, and how high should we expect him to get drafted. But before we move on, if you happen to enjoy content like this, please make sure to hit that like button, or please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. It only takes a second of your time, but it would be much appreciated. So let's get to it. International players could be the most polarizing NBA prospects, as has always been the case, but we can definitely learn a thing or two when it comes to evaluating talent from overseas. I mean, we've seen it happen before, when a player wins MVP in an overseas league even before joining the NBA, like what Luka Doncic did in the Euro League in 2018, or what Nikola Jokic did in the Adriatic League in 2015, chances are those players end up becoming special in the NBA. Well, for sure, Doncic and Jokic are talents that only arrive once in a while, but still, teenagers who have played really well overseas typically end up as productive players when they reach the NBA. This is where I think you can categorize guys like Jonas Valanciunas, Ricky Rubio, Jusuf Nurkic, Danilo Gallinari, and a few others. And also, it's not like it was hard to identify a potential bust like Dragan Bender after he only averaged 2 points per game in the EuroLeague before being drafted in the NBA. So basically, if we're gonna use that analogy here, I think it would be safe to assume that a guy like Alperen Sengun would be at least a serviceable player in the NBA, but considering how he has been such a dominant force in the grown man's league at such a young age, all signs point to him having the potential to become a real star-level player moving forward. I mean, Sengun finished the 2021 Turkish League season 3rd in scoring and rebounding and 2nd in blocks, and nobody in that league has ever registered a player efficiency rating above 30 over the past 10 years, but Sengun's PER for the 2021 season was at 32.9, which means he just dominated one of the better overseas basketball leagues in the world at 18 years of age. And so if he becomes a bust in the NBA with this kind of track record, he would definitely be the first of his kind. But what really makes Alperen Sengun that special? While looking at his physical profile, there's nothing that would really strike you as exceptional or out of this world. I mean, you can even consider him undersized for an NBA center at 6'10", and he also isn't a freak athlete by NBA standards. But as of the moment, I think Sengun is already one of the most polished scoring big men from the 2021 draft class. Well, the first thing that will definitely catch anyone's attention upon watching his film is his amazing instinct on the low block. I mean, Sengun never rushes things when he's on the post. He patiently uses a combination of pivots, fakes, and drop steps in order to get the best shot possible for him when he's around the rim. While in this clip, you'll see how he's able to back down his defender as he shot fakes with his right hand, then he spins to the other direction as he ultimately ends up shooting with his left hand. And Sengun generates a lot of his offense from those kinds of possessions, and for sure, even in the NBA, not a lot of big men have the combination of physicality and finesse that Sengun uses to pull off those kinds of moves constantly. And overall, when Sengun is operating down low, it's very hard to stop him because he also has such a good knack for feeling out his defender, and that, together with his physical strength and crafty footwork, enables him to spin around his man when needed, allowing him to finish the possession even if that means having to contort his body in awkward angles. And aside from being a crafty scorer in the paint, he's shown some shades of Nikola Jokic type of passing on the low block too. For a young player, Sengun already has the ability to constantly read defenses on his way to making the right passes to his teammates from almost anywhere on the floor. While on this clip, you can see how he patiently waits for the double team on the post before he ultimately dishes out a cross-court pass to a teammate for an open 3-point shot. And further, he has also shown the ability to make advanced reads and passes from different angles, which isn't always easy to do for a big man. Again, in this clip, watch how Sengun brings the ball down in transition before turning it into a post-up and ultimately dishing the behind-the-back dime to a cutting teammate. And I mean, that's another thing you gotta love about this guy. Sengun has the potential to be a steady rebound and run guy in the NBA. Coming off a rebound, he's just able to fluidly handle the ball on the open floor before he finishes the possession with either a drive to the rim or a pass to a teammate. In this clip, watch how he's able to steadily bring the ball down court in transition as he's able to locate his open teammate for an open corner 3-pointer. And because of this kind of mobility that he has, Sengun also projects to be a really solid rim running big in the NBA. I mean, he constantly runs the full length of the floor and is able to finish at the rim by catching lobs or by simply filling up space on the passing lanes. And if you watch his tape, you'll see that this guy actually has some pretty sneaky athletic qualities for a big man. He's an excellent finisher around the rim who's able to throw himself out on defenders thanks to his elite verticality and ability to take off in space. And more importantly, this guy can function as a serviceable big man in the NBA right from the get-go, as he's already well versed in running the pick and roll, which is arguably the most used play in the NBA today. Sengun is already used to setting up good screens for pick and roll ball handlers, and from there, he's able to use the combination of his great timing, good hands, and mobility in order to successfully finish around the rim. And by the looks of it, this guy has the real potential to be a legitimate offensive centerpiece for an NBA team moving forward. Because aside from having the ability to create his offense from the low block, Sengun can also make things happen from the top of the key. I mean, most centers would usually settle for dribble handoffs from the high post, but Sengun has the ability to dribble past his defenders on the way to the rim thanks to his decent handle and footwork, which is relatively quick for a big man. And aside from that, this guy also knows how to clean up after possessions. He has great timing and instincts to go after the ball, which is reflected by his 4.1 offensive rebounding average. So yeah, at this point, Sengun's offensive package is already pretty much polished. But there's still one thing which puts him in the traditional big man category, and that is the fact that he's still not a proven floor spacer. I mean, he only attempted less than 1 3-pointer a game in the Turkish league while shooting 4 out of 21 for the whole year. But looking at his shooting stroke, it doesn't look ugly at all, and it doesn't look like the stroke of a guy who won't be able to shoot in the mid 30% in the NBA moving forward. And also, Sengun shoots 80% from the free throw line, so I think there's no reason to believe that he won't be able to be at least a decent perimeter shooter moving forward. And moving on to the other side of the floor, this guy also projects to be a good rim protector, which is a result of his great defensive instincts and solid timing as a shot blocker. I mean, Sengun ranked second in blocks per game in the Turkish league with a 5.6% block rate, which is pretty good for a 6'10" setter. He just has great verticality as an interior defender, and I mean, he already knows how to defend drop pick and roll coverages too. Sengun has the ability to force both ball handlers and roll men into difficult angles when they're attempting to shoot at the rim. And also, defensive instincts and timing usually translate in the NBA for big men, so I think he'll be at least a decent rim protector who can make an immediate impact as a help side shot blocker right from the get-go. But yeah, if there's one thing in his game that can be called a weakness, it's definitely his reliability as a perimeter defender. Well, I mean, watching his tape, you'll see that his feet aren't that terrible, and looking at it, he's actually able to move pretty well for his size, and you can see that he's able to keep up with his man when he switches in the perimeter. But yeah, for sure, he really does struggle defending quicker players who are prone to changing directions, and this will definitely give him trouble in the NBA. But like I said, his feet aren't terrible, and he's got great defensive instincts too. I mean, he puts up great effort, and he does a pretty solid job of contesting shots from behind when it looks like guys have blown by him already. And so, the questions about his defensive switchability might justify why he shouldn't be a lottery pick for some people, but to me, given his overall skill set and versatility as a big man who's just about to turn 19 years of age, it's just more of why he shouldn't be a top 5 pick at this point. But I mean, we've seen big men like Kevin Love or Domantas Sabonis who don't necessarily have the greatest measurements and the greatest defensive abilities still hold their own in the NBA. So basically, I think Sengun isn't in a bad position at all, and I think as long as he's able to offset any concerns about him with his tremendous offensive skill, and as long as his future team doesn't have to hide him against small ball lineups, especially in the playoff series, then I think there's not much to worry about him. And as it stands, Sengun is mostly projected as a late lottery pick in most mock drafts, and if that's the case, I think there are a number of late lottery teams so will definitely be a good fit for him. I mean, he would definitely be an instant inside presence for a San Antonio Spurs team who heavily relies on guards and forwards for offensive production, and he'll be an instant upgrade over a guy like Jakob Poeltl for sure. Another late lottery fit I think would be the Charlotte Hornets, as Sengun can be a solid rim runner as part of their fast-paced offense, or a big man who could finish off the catch out of LaMelo Ball's clever dimes. But for all we know, a team drafting in the top 10 like OKC might even pick him as high as number 6, since his pick and roll prowess will definitely work well with one of the most productive pick and roll scorers in the league in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But at the end of the day, Sengun is a big man who has great ball skills, passing instincts, a promising shooting stroke, a variety of spins and finishes around the paint, and a ton of defensive potential. And depending on how high he gets drafted and how much he improves as a player, he could really end up as the steal of the 2021 NBA draft. So what do you think about Alperen Sengun's game, and how do you project him as an NBA player? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, this is Rero Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.